Today's a pretty exciting day. I recently purchased the DJI Osmo Pro. It has the Zenmuse X5 camera system on it, and I got it for a steal of a deal because I got it used, and it's a pretty outdated camera system by today's standards. I also have an Inspire 1 that has this dinky little mount system that flies the Zenmuse X3 camera. I did some digging and I got the mount for it to be able to mount the X5 on the Inspire 1. So let's breathe some more life into this system by upgrading it to be able to house and mount the X5 camera. The very first thing we're gonna need to do is remove the mount system on the current mount system on the Inspire 1. And to do that, you just pinch and pull out these two dampers. Be very careful with the two cables. There's an 8 and a 10 pin holding this mount plate in place to have the connection driven to the drone for the camera. All right, so here's the old flimsy little plate that is used for the Zenmuse X3 system. Let's go ahead and crack into what you get in the actual components list for the vibration absorption board for the X5 system. So it comes to you in a kit. These are already like the extension legs, but I already have them installed on my drone right now. So I just have an extra pair. Then you got the rear bracket bar and front tools for the absorption board. And then you got the absorption board itself. I forgot to mention that you gotta remove these rubber dampers completely from the drone system. And I highly recommend that you spend some time cleaning up the bottom of it because there might be some dirt or sand or something in there if you don't regularly clean your drone. So you'll have all these rubber dampers. After the fact, just store them away with the old board and keep them just in case. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up a little bit and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so after you've cleaned everything up on the aircraft and are ready to install the actual base plate to the aircraft itself, one thing that you're going to need for this is a 2mm Allen driver for this because you get these little Allen bolts for the installation. That's something that doesn't come in the package, so keep that in mind. Additionally, you may get a base plate, and I don't know because I bought mine used, that have the separated bars. Just make sure you kind of put it on the aircraft loosely and then make sure that you're installing these buffer plates with the actual dampers in the correct orientation. So, all right, so like I said, I don't know how these come brand new, but I wanted to make sure that you kind of understood how I installed the damper bars on these. If you can see, these damper bars have nice little pull tabs, so you just kind of pull it through. Don't use anything metal or anything to try to jam it through because these little dampers are filled with some sort of dampening material. So it's not just air inside of these. Just be very careful when you're pulling those through, kind of pull them in through the side, and then don't pull them too far through because you might cause some damage to the actual damper. So just be aware of that and be careful of that. As soon as that's done, you can get the actual base plate prepped and ready to go to be installed onto the actual aircraft itself. And it already looks like I made a mistake with this because I pulled these dampers through the wrong way. Just be aware. Both of the actual dampers themselves, these pull tabs should be facing up towards the device. So if I flip this image over, these little dampers should be facing down, down or up towards the air. So whenever you lift off. I want to keep this in the video because it can happen because I'm not an expert RC installation specialist. All right, now I spent some time kind of fixing that. So you can see that the actual pin connectors for the cables are here, and then every damper is facing up towards that. So with that, let's go ahead and get this installed. First thing that I want to do is get these cables connected because they need to be installed in the right orientation. You can't make a mistake because one's 10 pin, one's 8 pin, and you get a nice satisfying click when you install these. Let's take a look at the hardware that is included to keep this base plate secure to the aircraft body. One thing I want to highlight before I install that though is that DJI includes these little screws to unmount the actual camera connection from the base plate. So they include an extra set of those. So just in case you have an accident or something like that, this little thing can be removed from the original base plate and installed on here, because it's just a little like logic board that controls the camera. So that's neat. Keep and maintain these little screws if you can. All right, so the first thing I want to do is install the front end. I kind of want to do it in reverse from how I uninstalled the original hardware. You can see that this little bar has some like graduated areas. Additionally, the threads are towards the front. Just like if I were to take it from here and go right to the aircraft. And you kind of just want to hold this in place. Fits really nicely there. And then install it. Don't tighten it down too hard, because you want to make sure that you have some leeway to install the rear part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. One thing that I'm noticing with mine is that my cables want to go towards the front, so I'm gonna spend some time and kind of making sure that those don't get pinched or anything in the process of this installation. That might happen to you as well. So I got that base plate installed rather loosely. Now I want to move to the rear. The rear is the same way, but these two little hardware installation pieces come separately. These bars go toward the edge of the aircraft and the same direction with this graduated cylinder of the hardware. Again, I don't want to tighten this down too tight. Just want to get it set so I can go to the other side. And then when I check everything, I can tighten everything down. Make sure it's not, not overly tightened, but I'm going to do the other side the same way. You're not going to get a great view of this on camera because, again, I'm doing this by myself. With limited access to hands. I only got 2. Wish I had 4. Just kidding, that'd be weird. All right, everything's installed in the right direction. Everything's not tightened down, so you can take a look at the base, the actual absorption board here. Everything's free floating with it. Looks like it's good. None of my cables are in the way, so they're not gonna, rub or do anything crazy over the life of this flight with this new camera on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down these 4 Allen key with the Allen thing and get it done. One thing DJI did a really good job at kind of signifying that you've tightened this down enough is that these Allen keys that we just put in sit flush with the absorption board. That's when you know you've tightened it enough, and that's when the bolt will stop. So just make sure that you got those installed that way on the absorption board. Let's go ahead and install the X5 camera. There's this little nub here on the back of the camera. Put that in place, rest it, hold it, and then lock it. Now the camera's sitting pretty. And holy crap, this is beautiful. I just love the way this looks. It's really, really nice. Now I need to make sure that I don't need to install any firmware, which I know I need to. So let's go ahead and hop through that process. Looks like it's booted up just fine. So everything, all the connections and everything are working between the aircraft and the camera. Quick update. I didn't have to update any firmware. It's already ready to connect to the camera. That's crazy. The next thing that I want to check then, if this is even possible, is that I want to see if I can change out the X3 camera. This was an unexpected surprise. That's a good thing. So everything's working, it's connected, it's ready for flight, which we will do, but I want to take out the X3 and put it on and see if that works. So let's do that. It's recognizing it. Holy crap, that's amazing. Look, X3 connected, ready to be connected to. It switches the device name to Inspire 1 instead of Inspire 1 Pro. And I can connect to the camera. Now that's awesome. That's gonna make for an awesome comparison for you guys to see. Before we get into this, I wanna give you guys a heads up of exactly what I'm gonna be doing between the 2 camera systems in this comparison. I'm gonna get the settings as close as possible, but I'm not gonna sacrifice the quality of either one of them. So they are different camera systems, different sensors, different fields of view, all that type of stuff, and that's gonna come into play when I try to capture the best possible quality footage for review in this video. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. I am gonna say that it is quite windy out here. I'm gonna measure the battery time or the battery life on this system as well. I'm gonna be using 2 TB48, so it's the larger of the batteries that are available on the Inspire 1. And I'm gonna time them. I'm gonna get it up in the air. It's windy. I'm gonna fly it rather aggressively and we'll see how each one of these systems holds up. So we've concluded flight between the X3 and the X5. The X3 gave the drone system about 14 minutes of flight time in a high wind environment. As you can probably hear on my microphone, I'm trying to block it. The X5 was about 10 and a half minutes. They performed really well on the TB48 between the drone systems. Well, let me know what you think in the comments down below between the two cameras. You know, how did they perform? Do you like one or the other? I'm interested to know what you think. Do you think it was worth the upgrade? I think so, because I like having this bigger camera. Also, I can use it in different environments like the Osmo and all that type of stuff. Well, that about does it for me in this video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I'm Tomas, and I will catch you in the next one.